Okay, so we'll be doing the front band of your shirt, which is this part. And I want to say that I measured it wrong when I did my pattern. So you can either do what I did, which is on my pattern piece at the bottom, because remember at the bottom it was supposed to be 1 inch hem, because it was going to be a half an inch narrow hem. So what I did was just basically cut the 1 inch down to a half an inch. So my new hem will be a 1/4 inch narrow hem when finished. So just to give you what the true measurements was supposed to have been, your allowance of your band actually came into the collar by half. So you can say that's about 1/4 inch. I'm sorry, 3/8 of an inch, or a 1/4 inch. You can say a 1/4 inch. Came up about a 1/4 inch into here, so either 1/4 inch or 3/8, whatever you want to put there. You measure the whole band, and my problem is I forgot about the allowance here, so I just put the 5/8, you know, right below here without taking into account there was also a seam allowance here of a half an inch. So you got to take into account that this was 1 full inch of a seam allowance. So you have a 1/4 inch here, however much this came up to be. Add in your 4 inch of your seam allowance. Then from that 4 inch, then you add in your 5/8, because you will want this part, your band, to extend beyond you know, this part by 5/8 of an inch. So again, you're going to take this, your seam allowance goes up to here about a 1/4 inch here. Take the whole measurement here, add in the seam allowance, which is about 1 inch. So from there, add in about 1 inch. Then from that total amount, then add in the 5/8. So that's how technically you should have done it. But we're not into drafting yet, pattern drafting. When we do the commercial patterns, that'll all automatically be there for you, so you don't have to worry about making a mistake. But I just wanted to show you what that one was, because if you already cut your stuff out, you would have seen that it was short. So again, what I did to compensate was just cut off a half an inch at the bottom hem, because this was a 4 inch, so I just reduced it by half an inch. So that allowed the band, it's probably a little bit more, yeah, just a tad bit more than 5/8, but you know, it gives you that excess there. Okay. So now what you want to do is, you know, we usually do right sides to right sides, correct? So with your band, you're going to do wrong side to right side. So this is the right side of the shirt, okay? So with the band, what you want to do is wrong side. So this is the wrong side of the shirt to the right side of the band. So wrong side to right side. And the reason why that is because we're actually going to flip the band to the right side. Okay, so you're going to line wrong side to right side, line it, start your band flush at the top of your neck, curve there, and again at the very bottom it should extend past there. And you're going to do your seam, sew your seam at a half an inch all the way down, and you can back stitch at the top and the bottom. And from that point, when you do that, you're going to cut the seam allowance down by half, okay? And then once you do that, you're going to press everything away from the shirt, So your seam allowance will be pressed away and your band will be pressed away. And we'll come back at that particular step. Okay. Okay, we at this step. You should have sewn your bands to your shirt. And then, so, should have did it this way. But, so, it's the wrong side of shirt to right side of band. And once you finished, cut away half. Cut away the half. And so I did the other shirt the same way, so that's cutting away half the seam allowance. Okay, so what you're going to do now is start flipping the band to the right. So at this point, you want to press your seam allowance and the band away from the shirt. Okay, so now you should be looking at the right side of the shirt. And this is actually the wrong side of the band, because we're not finished flipping. Because now we're going to flip it over this way, because this is the right side, okay? So that's why I started off with right side of the band. All right, so we're going to press this. So same thing with, and repeat it on the other side, because we got two shirt front patterns here. So your seam allowances and your band is pressed away from your shirt, and again your shirt is right side up. And now with on the outside edge of your band, I want you to flip that under about half an inch and press that as well. Okay, from top to the bottom, from top to the bottom. So your steps here, pressing this down and away, down and away, like that, and then you're going to press under a seam allowance here of about a half an inch along this edge. Okay, come back when you do that, and we'll finish up the band. Okay. And one little tip for our sample binder, because the shirt will be completed when we actually finish it, and it won't be in separate pieces. Like you won't have a separate piece for the band, you won't have a separate piece for the collar, because it'll all be looking like a shirt when we finish. So you won't have individual samples. So I suggest each step you take photographs. So you know, your first photograph will be attaching the band, you know, right side, oh I'm sorry, wrong side to right side of band, and then show that you basically cut half of the seam allowance away, would be another picture. And then show that you are pressing seam allowance and band away from the shirt, and the shirt is right side up. And then at this step we're here, once you do that, show that you turn the raw edge of the band in by ½ an inch, and then you'll just have that in your sample binder for your steps. So each one of the steps, just take pictures, because you will not have an individual sample unless you just want to do it over again, you know. But you know, I think that's a little bit too much, so you can just have photos for this particular one, because they all go together and you won't have separate pieces. Okay, so this is where you should be. So the right side of your shirt should be facing up. Your seam allowance and your band should be pressed away from the shirt, and then you should have turned under about ½ an inch or so of the raw edge of the band. Now at this point, you're going to bring over the band so it's just barely over that that stitching line. Okay, and you're going to pin. I don't have my pins over here, but you're going to pin, and then you're going to pin all the way down, and then once you pin, you're going to give this a good press. Okay, so your whole band should be just past, you know, it should kind of look like that. So you just passed your stitch line here. You're going to pin, and then you're going to press, and then what you're going to do is take it to your sewing machine and stitch along that inner fold, call this the inner fold, by 1/8 of an inch. Okay, and if you like, you can sew it along this outer fold 1/8 of an inch, between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch. I've seen both. But this row is optional. Okay, some people do, some people don't. I typically do. I just like the look of it, so I probably will. So again, this side inner fold 1/8, the outer fold between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch away from the folded outer edge on that side. Okay, go ahead and do that and come back, and that'll be the end, not the end of the band, but majority of the end of the band. But then we just have to sew this part. So glad that kind of brought that up. So what we kind of want to do, I think we'll do this first. Yeah, trying to think what order should we do this. Yeah, okay, so let's just do that. I just think that looks better. No. I'm still thinking. Because we need to close off the ends. I'm trying to determine whether or not I want to start with another back stitch here. So probably not. So let's switch up this order. So let's close off this inside. So what you're going to do is you're going to fold the band so that it's right sides together. Okay, you don't have to unfold your press mark here. Okay, so that it's right sides together, and all you're going to do is follow this curve for the hem. Okay, so you're going to be sewing following that curve about like right there. It's basically a straight line at this point. You're going to sew that, and then you're going to cut the seam allowance, and then we'll come back, flip it back, put your fold just beyond that previous stitch line, press, and you know, do your 2 rows of stitches, or your optional 2 rows. So this one will be 1/8, and then again, this is optional if you want to do that, or if you do want to do it, it's 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch away. Okay, so first things first, bring these so that they're right sides together. Usually I flip it to the wrong side, so they're right sides together, and sew along following the hemline. Okay, do that and come back. Okay, so as you can see, just followed the line of the hem and sewed across. Now I'm going to trim. Trim kind of close, maybe a quarter inch. Leave. Do the other one. Now, you want to just turn it out. 1 second. So you want to turn it out, you have a clean finish at the bottom. Okay, and now again, so we're working on the right side. Now we can finish the front. So make sure that your seam allowance is away, and you're going to fold over your band so it's just over. Pin in place, press it, and then do your 2 rows of stitches, or your 1 row definitely, and your optional 2nd row on the outer fold. All right, come back when that's done. Okay, so the bands are done. And I just want to reiterate is when you first place your band, I forgot to say that it's flush against the neck, and the only part that's extending is at the hem. Okay, but you first place it flush against the neck. And so I wanted to show you, not sure if it'll really come through, hopefully it does. This is the one that does not have the optional stitch line on the outer fold, just on this inner fold. Okay, and this one has the stitching on both sides. I just think it looks a little bit more crisp, but you know, either one most definitely works. And so this is your band. So, you know, once you wear your shirt, it overlaps like that. Let's see, so any questions on this, let me know. But now you are finished with your bands, and so I will probably move on to the back, get those situated. All right, any questions on this, let me know.